Show those thieves not to steal from Luke and Valerius.
Well met, and welcome to the Deview, where there's a 0% chance of hearing that something is good, there's a 0% chance of hearing that something is bad, and there's a 40% chance of crosshair accuracy. Skyrim is a manly game for manly men. In this manly, mannish game, we manly men do lots of manly things. We fight dragons, we tell stories, we drink ale, and we follow giant lizards. When Skyrim came out in 2011, it was absolutely monstrous. It was the dragons it so loudly flaunted. Everywhere you went, you would be ambushed by Skyrim. It'd swoop down from the mountaintops above and you'd be bombarded with references and memes. Players swore that in these late months of 2011 they were having some of the best experiences of their lives through Skyrim. They talked of the amazing stories Skyrim's open world had given them, all the epic quests they'd been on, all the wacky encounters they'd had, mostly due to the AI doing things. What even is this? They boisterously bellowed that someone had just taken an arrow to the knee when someone fell over or seemed to be experiencing any kind of pain. And what's most concerning is that some people laughed along with it. And on the note of laughing along with things you shouldn't, let's take a moment to talk about Todd Howard, the face of Bethesda. When Skyrim came out, it made Todd Howard into a rock star. Now, time has had a similar effect on him to what it had on Sonic the Hedgehog, but let's go back to a time between Skyrim and Fallout 76 and attempt to talk somewhat seriously about him for a moment. It's obvious that when you make yourself the face of any project or any company, you are the one who's going to take the brunt of the criticism when something goes awry. Todd Howard is not solely responsible for the state of Fallout 76, he is not solely responsible for Fallout 4 just having Fallout 3's plot in reverse, and he's not solely responsible for dialogue with the depth of Ben Shapiro's adorable little bathtub. And yet when something goes wrong, we all laugh at him as the obelisk that represents a company who keep doing a big silly. Here's the thing, when it's going right, he gets all the credit. As I said, he was a rock star. He gave lofty promises and hyperbole left and right in talks and interviews. In every public appearance, he comes across as this confident, swaggering everyman with a relatable sense of humour. Skyrim was so monolithic when it came out that it's since been ported nearly 10 different times. Memes and in-jokes have ensued online about the ridiculous amount of ways Bethesda have managed to sell you Skyrim, and at E3 2018, Todd became one of us. For whatever reason, Bethesda had their own showcase at E3 2018, and at this conference they clearly had so little to talk about and show off that Todd Howard dedicated about 5 whole minutes of this conference to something that bordered on a stand-up comedy routine, followed by the announcement of Skyrim Very Special Edition, an actual working version of Skyrim for Amazon Alexa. Something that, no matter how small in scale, is something a team would have had to put actual time and resources into, done via a trailer with its tongue so far in its cheek that it was practically piercing through the flesh and slowly licking its way down the side of your face, the next Skyrim sale being so close that it can almost taste it. This trailer featured jokes about Skyrim being available for fridges and Etch-a-Sketch, clearly playing off similar jokes made by fans, and if Bethesda hadn't completely destroyed all goodwill they have with their fans only a few months after, it might have been quite funny. Todd Howard is a man who laughs at his own jokes and no one else's. In many of the media appearances I passed of his before making this video, here's one of the very few moments I could find of him laughing at someone else's joke.
And E3 has become such an incredible week of entertainment, but we know that most of you came here for one thing.
Todd Howard!
Thank you.
Maybe I find myself so unsettled by Todd Howard because I can see myself in him. I too know that my jokes are funnier than everyone else's. Of course I do, I'm self-aware. But 90% of the time, he doesn't even have the sociopathic politeness to pretend to laugh at other people's jokes. You, Todd Howard, are a chameleon in LED sneakers, and you are blowing my cover. If Skyrim wasn't the turning point for you, if Fallout 4 wasn't the turning point for you, then it should have been this press conference. If this press conference had any more red flags, it'd be a fucking ski slope course. I was nary but a young lad of 14 years old when Skyrim originally released, and I was going through a transitional and, to tell you the truth, pretty sad period of my life. Only a few months prior, my life had been upended as my family and I moved from Berkshire to Essex to be nearer to a grandparent with a terminal illness, and also because one of us, not me, had experienced a pretty serious mental break courtesy of many circumstances tied to our location. Not only were these things weighing on my mind, but so were all the typical kid moving away from home things. I had to leave all my friends behind and make a bunch of new ones and learn to fit in at a new school, and this was the second time I'd had to do this, as we also moved to Berkshire from another part of Essex when I was 7 years old. And so for the first month or so at our new home, my room wasn't decorated. It had these hideous pale peach coloured walls and it was tiny, much smaller than my old room. I slept on a mattress on the floor, and most of the time all I could do to take my mind off how alone I felt was play Fallout 3 on this tiny CRT on the floor next to my mattress. A little less than a year prior, before I moved, I'd played Fallout New Vegas for the first time after a friend introduced it to me, and it had got me curious to play its predecessor. To my surprise, Fallout 3 and New Vegas somehow became topics of conversation quite frequently amongst the guys who had taken me in, if you will, at the new school. And these guys seemed pretty cool. If they were going to turn out to be my friends for the next few years as I'd hoped, maybe the process of settling in here would be easier than I thought. Even with that though, I struggled. I am a far more eccentric oddball at heart than most people, and trying to come across as someone with whom people might actually want to be associated with does genuinely take quite a lot of energy. And as much as I like these guys, I could only talk with them about Fallout 3 and New Vegas so much. I was struggling to find common ground. And then, just a couple months after the year at this new school had started, a new window opened. Everyone was talking about Skyrim. Despite having played Fallout 3 and New Vegas so recently, I embarrassingly never put the pieces together and realised that The Elder Scrolls was basically the same thing, being Bethesda's concurrent series that they helm alongside Fallout, though New Vegas was an exception but still run in the same engine. I noticed some similarities, but somehow it took me a year or so to make this connection. Based on these perceived similarities though, and considering all the hype surrounding it, Skyrim seemed pretty interesting to me, and if I wanted to have more in common with these new guys at school, buying it seemed like a no-brainer. I didn't get it on release day, but a lot of these guys did, and the way they talked about it, it was like listening to a Dragon Ball Z fan talk about a man screaming and changing hair colour. Needless to say, I was excited. When I finally got the game myself and booted it up, I was ready to see what all the hype was about. I was ready to lose hours in it like I had in New Vegas and even Fallout 3. And then something weird happened. A module base. Oh my god. What is this texture? Holy shit. What am I looking at? Look at this. What happened here? Why have you covered your door with oatmeal? Huh? Great. You seeing this, Mercurio? You seeing it? Look at this. I didn't. I'd often find myself switching it off after just over an hour, or zoning out entirely whilst I was playing. I had played the game quite a lot by the time I started leaving it on the shelf to collect dust for weeks at a time, but why had it even come to this in the first place? When I came into school, I couldn't talk about it with the same fervent enthusiasm that so many of my new friends could. I wanted to reach deep down inside myself and find something, but when I did, all I could find was thoughts about New Vegas. And this pretty embarrassing crush I had on this girl. And some Doritos, probably. I couldn't put my finger on why I felt so empty playing this game. I was 14 years old, my critical brain hadn't fully developed yet. I couldn't tell you any tangible problems that I had noticed. What was going on here? Skyrim has an aggregate score of 96 on Metacritic. By that metric, it's one of the top 40 most critically acclaimed games of all time, amassing a higher overall rating than The Last of Us, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Mass Effect 2, and more. Take a look at just some of the review scores it was given as shown on Wikipedia. Take a look at all the Game of the Year awards and countless other accolades bestowed upon it by so many different outlets. If you're to believe the numbers, this is one of the all-time greats. So let's talk a bit about Skyrim's promise. Skyrim is most frequently classified as an open world RPG. As an open world game, it gives you near unparalleled freedom. You can go just about anywhere, anytime, and you can almost always travel there on foot, letting Skyrim's vast and scenic landscapes pass you by. Though, for the first half an hour to 45 minutes, you'll be constrained to this opening sequence where some characters very quietly explain a vague backstory to you, and just as you're about to be executed, the site of your head separation is attacked by a dragon. Many role-playing games pride themselves on replayability. They're supposed to make you want to play the game multiple times over to experiment with all the different character builds and see how things play out if you make different decisions in quests and dialogue and all that other RPG stuff. But every time you start a new file in Skyrim, you'll have to do this same extended sequence all over again. A sequence in which you only really get to make one decision. And that is whether you go with Ralph, who represents the Stormcoats, or if you go with Craig. Is it Craig? Oh, it's Hadvar, who represents the Mint Imperials. The only thing that changes based on this decision is the colour of Skittle you'll be devouring throughout this opening segment, and which faction you'll be recommended to join once you inevitably make it back to your chosen red or blue crash test dummy's house in Riverwood. Once you escape the dragon's attack, finish the opening section, and the path to Riverwood is laid out in front of you, Skyrim delivers on that first half of its promise. The world is open, and what a world it is! There are so many settlements to discover, dungeons to explore, and vistas to take in. Your temples will be gently caressed by Skyrim's rolling hills, lofty mountains, and sparkling rivers. In order to capture footage for this video, I played Skyrim Special Edition on PC. This is the most stable version with the highest graphical fidelity, released in late 2016, just a little under 5 years after Skyrim's original release. To put it simply, I wasn't ready for this. I truly underestimated what an effect the Special Edition would have on the game's visuals. Yeah, my temples were caressed. Skyrim rubbed the shit out of my temples. It is, however, worth repeating what I just said in that this version I was playing is the most stable version, okay? You can't get any more stable than this. I just want to make that clear. Alright? Keep it in mind. Most stable version. The matter of how Skyrim progresses as an RPG is quite a different story to how it progresses as an open world game. Skyrim has had mountainous heaps of praise lavished upon it very specifically for its status as a role-playing game. In 2020, IGN listed it as the 7th best RPG of the past 15 years, one spot above Dragon Age Origins. It won Best RPG at the Golden Joystick Awards, the Spike Video Game Awards, the Gold Sticker Awards. Hell, in their 2017 list of the top 100 RPGs of all time, Game Informer lists Skyrim as number 1. And to tell you the truth, Skyrim as an RPG is... Trying to roleplay with Skyrim's dialogue and speech systems is like trying to perform sign language whilst wearing Hulk hands. Your role in Skyrim is that of the Dragonborn. You're a chosen one, destined to slay dragons and save the world. And in that role, you're given all the wiggle room of a Sumatran tiger in a bumper car. Not only will the game always begin the same way with the Escape from Helgen sequence, but the game's main quest, should you pursue it, will always end the same way as well, with you defeating the evil Alduin, thus saving the world and fulfilling your destiny. Maybe you'll be given a decision here and there, but they're often the exceptions of the rule, not the rule itself. The main quest has a tight grip on your status as the Dragonborn, a conquering hero. That is the way you'll shape this world. The game's way. The integrity of the game's story is too important to let main quests conclude in different ways like a Witcher or Dragon Age. Maybe you'll do something the sneaky way or the tough guy way, but hardly anything about the quest's resolution will ever change because the option to do something different simply won't be presented to you. To further fortify the security of its story, Skyrim goes ahead and makes many of its most important characters sword-proof, bow-proof, fire-proof, and big loud shout-proof. This is just how he deals with arguments, guys. This is just what this is what he's like. This is what he does. These people are too important for you to go and kill and screw up their big important story, so they're immortal. The Dragonborn would never kill these people, but this is still one of the most immersive games ever made. The game's iron tendrils have their grip tightened far beyond the main story though. Let's take for example the side quest In My Time of Need. Here's a side quest with multiple different endings and a morally ambiguous decision to be made. Progress. At some point you'll be made aware of the presence of a Redguard fugitive hiding out in Whiterun, and these Alakir warriors are looking for her and want you to tell them if you find her. They never tell you exactly why they want her. Curious. Now, the only way I've ever discovered who this woman is was by just so happening to talk to her and having a dialogue option available where I can say, "Did you know some Alakir warriors are looking for a Redguard woman?" To which she immediately blurts out loud wherever she is, "Oh no, they found me. I need your help. Am I missing something? Is this the only way you can progress this quest? You don't get a chance to do some sleuthing and snoop around the city and ask other women if it might be them, or try and squeeze some information out of people who seem like they might know stuff? You just walk around the city until you bump into the woman with whom you seem to have the right dialogue option." Anyway, as the quest continues, it boils down to a key decision. The Alakir insist this woman is dangerous. She insists she's being hunted for speaking out against an oppressive regime. So, do you turn her into her pursuers, or do you help her fend them off? The thing about me is, I'm an asshole, so I turned her in. You lead her down to the stables outside Whiterun under the guise of a daring escape, and there are the Alakir, who promptly capture her. You speak to the guy in charge for your reward, and as happens so often in Skyrim, you're given one dialogue option. You can ask, "She won't be harmed?" I just, very flagrantly, betrayed her based on extremely flimsy accusations from the Alakir. This is the dialogue option I would pick if I were role-playing a stupid character. But considering how I misled her, even with so little to go on, it's very possible, I'd argue far more likely, that I'm just really not a nice person. Why is the only option I'm given here to express empathy? What if I don't care? What if I'm just horrible? Is that not just as, if not more likely? Well, even if it is, you're not given the option, because you're the Dragonborn, and you're not like that. Despite your very underhanded dealings in this quest, you're still a caring person, I guess. In convincing her to go to the stables with you, there's no skill check necessary as far as I'm aware, and thus no possibility of failure. A consequence for your misdeeds was simply never in the cards. This is what speech in Skyrim is like. Watch as I attempt to persuade this person to pay me before I finish a job. I fail, experience no consequence whatsoever, and then immediately just try the intimidate option instead and succeed. Truth be told, I don't know what actually influences dialogue options marked with things like persuade, lie, and intimidate. Is it your speech stat? I assume it is, but I've never gone for a speech build in this game because why would I? And as a result, the game has just never told me. It's one thing to not show the chance of success or failure you have on screen when you're choosing one of these dialogue options, but to also not even show what exactly is influencing it is so mind-boggling. It's the most basic kind of communication of information on screen that every RPG made by an even remotely competent RPG writer or developer has been able to achieve. But not Skyrim. Fallout New Vegas practically solved skill checks a year before this game came out. Just copy that game, trust me, just do what that game does. Choice and consequence are a fundamental building block at the core of every game deserving of being called an RPG. Skyrim offers you a choice about 30% of the time. But even when it does, a consequence is never to be found. When you enter Stormcoat territory in the form of a Windhelm for the first time, you see a pair of ornery men accusing a Dark Elf of being a Mint Imperial spy. They threaten her, leave, and then she approaches you to ask if you too hate Dark Elves like those men. To my shock, you're allowed to answer yes. This game is allowing you to be something other than a glad-handing hero. Get down from there, Skyrim, you'll hurt yourself. So obviously, I say, yes, I hate the Dark Elves. And she says, then we have nothing more to talk about, and walks away. Wow. A consequence for my action. Oh wait, I can just go up and talk to her again and ask why she was being harassed like nothing ever happened. What was the point of this? What did I gain from my attempt at role-playing here? No new dialogue options were opened up. No new content at all. There was one way I was supposed to respond to her, and that's the one that actually let me proceed in talking to her. For a brief moment, Skyrim dangled the idea that my character might be a racist in front of me. But like so many other role-playing opportunities, it's not willing to let me commit to it. Why won't you let me commit to being a racist, Skyrim? At the risk of sounding like so many of my fellow YouTube gamers, Why can't I just be racist? The previously mentioned side quest, In My Time of Need, is somehow one of the most divergent quests in the game, i.e. it's one of the only ones that gives you decisions to make that affect the outcome. So many of the game's other quests end one way. They offer you no decisions and you have no agency. Countless side quests will have you delving into a dungeon that looks exactly the same as all the others to retrieve an item, and that's it. It's evident that if you're looking to play a role, you can't turn to decisions in dialogue and quests, because they often don't exist. So instead, let's look at your character build. There's a lot of options here. You could use a two-handed weapon and mash the attack button until your enemy dies. You could use two one-handed weapons and mash the attack buttons until your enemy dies. You could use magic and hold the attack button until the enemy dies. Or you could be a sneaky person with a bow and slither around behind your foes completely unseen, and then mash the attack button until the enemy dies. This is what I did, attempting to roleplay as Stealth Archer Kermit, because Stealth Archer is just about one of the only builds you can play that feels different than just holding your attack button on your enemy until you win the fight. At this point, I do basically every playthrough as Stealth Archer Kermit. I've been Stealth Archer Kermit for so long that I don't even know who I am anymore. Fuck. Sorry, you see? Sometimes it just bleeds through and there's nothing I can do about it. You'll have to actively fight and maybe even mess around against the game's sensibilities to try and experience something different. Oh, he was like floating for it. As is the case with so many facets of this game, Skyrim constricts you with the tentacular grip of a giant Pacific octopus, and it holds you in place with the jaws of a Sumatran tiger. They have a bite force of 1,000 pounds. You can go anywhere you want, but that doesn't make you free. Wow, that was kind of deep.
Like and subscribe if that was deep.
Yet, Skyrim still has so many more mechanics and systems to allow for customization. Smithing, alchemy, enchanting, these are all mechanics in which you can go to a menu and make things if you have the ingredients and cannot make things if you don't have the ingredients. Alchemy is a bit different in that it doesn't tell you what the right ingredients for a potion are, which I think is supposed to encourage experimentation. What it actually does is make you wildly click random ingredients to combine them mindlessly for the first few times, trying to get all the inevitable failures out of the way as fast as possible, and salvage the 3 or so potions you'll actually make. Once you've figured out which ingredients make which potions, it becomes like all the others. Here's an important fact you need to know about me. As of the making of this video, I am 23 years old. At 23 years old, I have had 3 separate arse-related medical conditions. Based on this cursed knowledge, I can say with the utmost confidence that I am going to die on the toilet. But if I didn't know that I was going to die on the toilet, I would have guessed that on the day I leave this mortal realm, I'd go out playing Skyrim. Why is this? Well, because life never works out in the ways you're expecting, does it? Often we have this idea of how things are going to be. We fantasize about what the best things in life are going to be like, and they're just never how we imagine them, are they? They're rarely ever as crushingly disappointing as the worst case scenario, don't get me wrong, but they just don't hit like we think they will, do they? They just never reach those heights we dream about. And with that in mind, I think dying whilst playing Skyrim would be very fitting. But that's not how I'm going. I'm going out like Elvis, which I think is also very fitting. So far, Skyrim seems to be 1 for 1, right? Well, it's not exactly that simple. There's no underselling the open world and the freedom you're given, the allure of just waltzing into any town, sitting down in an inn and listening to the NPCs banter, striking up a conversation with the locals and seeing what quests and other hijinks you can get yourself wrapped up in, nor is there any underselling the game's wilderness. Who knows what kind of encounters you can have out on the open road. Well, if you've played the game for upwards of about 20 hours or so, you most likely do. Here I bump into an orc who asks me to kill him. He talks about wanting a good death and asks if I'm up for the challenge. I accept, we fight, I give him the honourable death he's been looking for. Having just experienced this for the first time, I've been given a story. I walk away thinking, this is something I'm going to tell my friends about. Only a couple hours later, in the very same session, I bump into a completely identical orc in a different location. He talks about wanting a good death and asks if I'm up for the challenge. I accept, we fight, and given the honourable death he's been looking for. Well, you get the point. It's when something like this happens that the magic of Skyrim's open world begins to fade. You realise that all these fascinating, spontaneous encounters you're having aren't that spontaneous after all. They're meticulously sprinkled into the world to make it feel spontaneous, but then the exact same random encounter happens to you multiple times, and Skyrim might as well be showing you its code. Of course, there's no such thing as a truly spontaneous encounter in a video game, but some are able to make it seem like there is. Skyrim is not one of those games. Breath of the Wild is one of those games. Skyrim was unmistakably influential when it came out, and you can see its DNA in almost every open world game since. Just over 5 years later, Breath of the Wild does something Skyrim never could. It makes the things you discover out in the open world feel special, because while some of them repeat and are iterated on, so many of them are wholly unique as well. Eventide Island, the Typhlo Ruins, the Lost Woods, there's nothing like any of these things in the rest of the world, and so they never lose their luster. They'll always be special. Skyrim has almost nothing like this. Everything that seems like it'll be special at first will be seen again. The magician will show you his trick, and then all you really have left in this open world is some colourful trees and dungeons that look exactly the same when you go inside. Skyrim's release in 2011 presented the industry with a canvas, littered with scrawlings of black and grey. On this canvas there are lots of little green dots, very intentionally placed in voids of empty space, and when you tilt your head, they seem to move with you. Many people have come along and iterated with this canvas since. Nintendo made a breathtaking piece of environmental art with it 5 years after in 2017. CD Projekt Red made an imposing Renaissance painting with it just over 3 years later in 2015. Obsidian practically showed the industry the Mona Lisa a year before, but for whatever reason, critics were and remain completely enamoured with this canvas. General audiences have begun to notice the uniform nature of its green dots, how every scribbled cave looks exactly the same, but still, this reputation persists. Even Far Cry 3 in 2012, barely a year later, came along, looked at this canvas, and made a far more striking piece with it. One with identity, one with personality, one that doesn't lionize its own excess to the point where it has to settle for combat where you win by clicking one button over and over again, or engage with multiple mechanics where you go to a menu and click one button over and over again. It took an embarrassingly short time for Far Cry 3 to do this with what Skyrim presented, because one, it doesn't feel the need to try and do everything as open world games so frequently do, and two, because Fallout New Vegas had actually been out for 2 years, which is more than enough time to take notes. I almost restrained myself from bringing up Far Cry 3 in this video because I figured some dumbo in the comments would drone on about how it's not a fair comparison because one's a first-person shooter set in the jungle and the other's a medieval RPG, but they both have open worlds. You can fight bears in them. They're basically the same thing. But barely a year later, and Far Cry 3 is Skyrim in the jungle with guns, with characters with personalities, with numerous very discernibly different ways of approaching combat, and even the Sumatran tiger. Their roars can be heard from 2 miles away. I imagine you're beginning to suspect that I've become somewhat obsessed with the Sumatran tiger lately. Your suspicion would be correct. Skyrim is what you get when you go to video game Nando's and place an order so mild that they season it with tap water and A4 paper. Your character isn't given the same charming, wacky dialogue options that they are in other RPGs, and they'll never be able to stray from Bethesda's vision of them far enough for them to kill these immortal beings. If you want to get to the beating heart of Skyrim, if you want to feel something after the first 20 hours have passed and it's shown you its hand, then you need to look at what it's holding under the table. The one thing Skyrim has in abundance that, despite its influence, none of its contemporaries have tried to emulate or even wanted to go anywhere near. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because open world games, they just want to do everything. Maybe they should stop. Maybe we should stop trying to do everything, you know? Why is this guy... What's this guy doing? I'm literally just standing here. Bro, there's... What the fuck is he doing? It's like he's really indecisive. He can't tell if I'm threatening or not. And he's like, is he gonna? Oh no, I don't wanna. Oh, should I? Oh, maybe I won't. Dude, he's gonna start a fucking fire in a minute. It's like when you rub two sticks together too fast. He's gonna fucking burn this place down. Someone's gotta stop him. I have to set him free. I think you're right. I think this is my destiny. Marcuria, what do you think? Okay, he's not here. he's probably stuck on a rock or something. Marcurio, hey, what do I do about this guy? Really? You think I should kill him? I don't know, man. He's just minding his own business. Yeah? Okay. I guess I'll go see if he's got any last words. Well, on second thought, he looks pretty tough, you know. It's pretty intimidating. Maybe I should back up. You know what? I'm gonna sleep on it. Oh, I thought that was a bed. I thought I was so ready. You know what? You know what? I need some time to think. I need some time to think about it. Hang on, I haven't come to a decision yet. I need to mull I need to mull this over a little bit. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, I have to save him! Oh my god! Oh, this is tragic. This is. I could have stopped this. I could have stepped in and did something, and I didn't. Holy shit! I've leveled up. I can't think about that right now. Maybe this is a 96 on Metacritic. My best anime experience was watching Death Note with my friends. How we would audibly gasp. Oh my! No time for anime. Anime time is over. Oh god. Leave me alone. I was just trying to read chat's message about anime. Oh. It's the Westerbo bear. He's come in protest. Yeah, that's right. Get the fuck out of here. Free. This bear hates anime. Guess that's why he came after me, because I am awesome anime after all. Take care of the what? There's a moose coming into town. Yeah, welcome in, buddy. Yeah, go on. Join the party. Where's he going? That's not a moose. That's a deer or whatever. Go on. Go on. Have some bants. Deer in the town. Where will he go? Will he go in the inn? Will he go make a weapon? Will he flirt with the lovely local maids? Oh, I love this guy. Oh, he's going. Oh, what? Guys. Guys, where did he? Oh, no! No, come back! I'm stuck. I went looking for him. Oh, he tricked me. What a foul deviant. He tried to entice me into the crashing waves so that I would befall some kind of perilous fate. Unbelievable. Maybe he was a fox in disguise. That was some... He's gone now. How mysterious. What a mysterious character. He's like a... Oh my god, he's like a Daedric prince. But they... Oh. Oh, this is DLC, isn't it? Right? The Greybeards seem to think so. I like their masks.
So we shall expose to them the falseness in their hearts, but tearing out yours. When Lord Mirak appears, all shall they.
This guard's like, what's going on? Okay. You gonna help me, guard? Okay, they've summoned... Bro, I fucking love Skyrim. Let's save a guy, because fuck it, I've already blown a guy off a cliff like 6 times. Yeah, go on then. Gotta say, this... Oh. Can I help you?
I've been looking for you. Got something I'm supposed to deliver.
Alright, personal space.
Let's see. A letter. Not sure who from. He wouldn't say, just that he was a friend of yours. Looks like that's it. Got to go.
Letter from a friend. What does it say? Awesome anime. You caused a bit of a stir. Actually, that says you caused a bit of stirring. You caused a... What? What's happening here? What's happening with this letter? Are you serious? Are you fucking serious? You caused a bit of stirring when you demonstrated the power of your Thum. Right, mate, this game. Are you... It's like... I'm not even trying here. He just gave me I wasn't trying to, like, push the boundaries of the game. Or, like, push his buttons or anything in any way. This just fucking happened, you know? Like... I didn't do anything here. I can make the fucking hologram back up. Did you see that? I made the... See the fucking hologram? Be like, whoa. Hang on. What do you want? He's a fucking hologram. What? They make him disappear every time I do it? Go away. I made him nervous, I'm sorry. Fine. Well, Marcurio, good luck. Why are they... Why... Where are you... What is happening? What is fucking happening? Why did it just stop? I didn't stop fighting. Oh... Oh, the clips I've... Oh my god. The clips I've gotten on this stream have been fucking unreal. I really absolutely cannot believe some of the shit that's happened this stream already. He's going. He's done. He's off to lunch. He's fucking off to lunch. Who are the other guys fighting it? Hey, what's up? Oh.
Over your valuables. Oh, dump me like a fish.
That's unfortunate. With these clips, I feel comfortable presenting to you my Deview appropriate thesis on Skyrim. Video games are obviously an art form to be held up alongside movies and the like, but there's something video games lack that movies have had since their earliest days. The comedy genre. Simply put, there aren't that many funny video games out there. Not many games are willing to devote themselves to comedy above all else like movies are. Some try and argue that comedy isn't even valid as art. They'll point to one-note parodies like Epic Movie and argue that it doesn't belong alongside the Pulp Fictions and Dark Knights of the world. But no matter how much you try and decry it, it is art by definition. Lots of people get a lot out of movies like this, even if it's just a cheap laugh or a brief escape from depressing reality. They put some of real life's trivialities into perspective, and they often reflect the nature of the industry in a warped but quietly poignant manner. Skyrim is a parody of video games. A parody of everything gamers say they want, everything that was relevant in the industry during its time and that still continues to be relevant today. This is Bethesda's place in the industry. They think they're making Return of the King or Lawrence of Arabia, but Bethesda make comedy games. Skyrim is their epic movie, and their disaster movie is everything they've released since. Hello! No poll for the next Deview this month, I'm afraid. I apologise, but there's a game I really want to cover that I very much doubt would win a poll, and I did say when I first opened up voting for the series that I would occasionally make the decision without running a poll. The one problem with throwing it to a vote is that it can occasionally become a bit of a popularity contest, and I want to have the chance to Deview some more obscure games that I think wouldn't get the chance otherwise. Not that Monster Hunter Rise is exactly obscure, but you get my point. I promise that by taking the wheel myself sometimes, I will be able to make better stuff. I want to do this game because I think I'll be able to make something really good out of it, and the polls will be back at the end of that one in April. So I'm kind of considering the Deview my main series now, if you will. It's the thing I'm going to be putting the most effort into. I would hope that this is showed through in this and the prior videos, and my new pledge is that every single one will be at least 20 minutes long, unless there's a very specific reason for it to not be. While voting is going away this time, if you want to have a say in which game gets Deviewed next in April and beyond, then you can sign up for the £1 a month Patreon tier to get voting rights, or if you really want to throw your boy a bone, you can sign up at an even higher tier for more benefits. That'd be great. I'd love that. Because the Deview is now my main thing, I'm going to start thanking those pre-existing patrons at the end of these. Thanks, patrons! Thank you to Captain L, Cheesy Chip, Mike Craig, Charnucky, Chris Monk, Derek Drost, Dixie Normus, Flashing Fire, GP, Garm, Heist Van Duren, the Trilogy of Isaacs, Isaac Beardswood, and Isaac Vermeer, Justin Mills, Kavan Green, Mike Archer, Super, Swag Boy, Tale of the Toaster, The Ghost of Karl Marx in 4D, Waldington, Cousin Boneless, and Good Chicken. Thank you guys. If it's late at night, go the fuck to sleep. If it's during the day, go the fuck to sleep. What else is there to do right now?